So, Coach Joe, my dad asked me to be brief. He's humble and wants everybody to get on with their day and have a great fun first Saturday for Region 82. But I'm going to tell you a quick story. Kids, pay attention. I'm going to tell you a quick story about a man that cares deeply about you, not only when you put on the soccer cleats, but when you put on the clothes to go to school, when you're at home with your parents, when you're contributing to the community. He cares deeply. If you look, we're in a little valley, Santa Paula, Region 82. There's a set of mountains on one side and a set of mountains on the other side. In this valley, farmers grow rich, juicy agriculture, citrus, orange, lemon, avocados. The most important fruit that grows in this valley are the kids. Everyone in the uniforms. The most important fruit. And great fruit by way of these kids over the last 50 years has come to fruition. It's grown, it's been nurtured, it's being nurtured. I'm going to tell you about one of the great ones. Back in, I have to check my notes, 1975, Coach Joe Magdaleno started his soccer coaching career as an assistant. From there, he coached 2 more years, and then from 77 to 79, he was the commissioner, just like Commissioner Ramirez, Patrick Ramirez. He headed all of this. In 1980, some of those older kids eventually were already at the high school, and they still had a yearning in their heart to play the sport that they love, soccer. They went to Coach Joe, commissioner, and said, "Can you help us get a soccer program at the high school?" There was no program. Didn't even exist. The word soccer wasn't in the vocabulary at the high school. Coach Joe went to the board, Santa Paula High School board, and said, "I'd like to start a soccer program." They said, "What? Soccer? What?" Well, there's no money for that, but if you can figure out how to do it, you can use the field from this time to this time on these days. That soccer program was under the tutelage of Coach Joe, the leadership of Coach Joe for 16 years. The inception, the start of that program was in 1980, and he retired in 1986. 96, 16 years. 8 Frontier League titles, 2 Southern California high school titles. 16 years later, he was Southern California Coach of the Year twice, League Coach of the Year twice. In 83, the Ventura County honored him as Coach of the Year. In 1993, Umbro honored him as California Coach of the Year. In 1995, the Ventura County Hall of Fame inducted him in the Hall of Fame as one of the winningest coach in any sport, prep high school in Ventura County. How does that tie back into AYSO Region 82? That first team in 1980 had no money, no funds for the program. He gathered up enough money for 2 or 3 soccer balls, and the AYSO Region 82 donated the first uniforms that Santa Paula High School team went on to win all these championships. They donned Region 82 AYSO uniforms with a patch over that had a cardinal. Let's give Region 82 a round of applause for helping to start the success of that program. I said I'd be brief, but I need for you to know how important today and this program in this region is. It's not just a sport. Coach Joe, one of the things that always comes to mind is when the game clock ends, life begins. So it's not just about the sport. It's about teaching young boys and girls about growing up to be responsible, loving, caring people, productive with their communities. Coach Joe expected from his team hard work, sportsmanship, show up on time, be committed to your families, be committed to school, and everything else will fall into place. And the proof, how they say, is in the pudding. 16 years of success. He's standing here with his grandkids going through this program. One last thing I want to say is, throughout these years, he sent players on to higher education. Big schools, big universities. Universities that would take his players throughout the country. New York, Seattle, Southern California. And it was so neat to hear when they'd introduced these college programs and these players were in the starting lineup, and you'd hear out of Santa Paula, California, out of Santa Paula, California, and you'd hear every now and then out of El Salvador, out of Denmark, out of Mexico, out of New York, out of Santa Paula, California. Still gives me goosebumps. And I've talked to some of those players that went on to play at higher education and get the education and play at a higher level. 2 questions. They were always faced with that first day when they stepped on the field of a higher level. The other players would look around and 2 questions. Everybody had the similar 2 questions. What high school you out of? What high school you out of? And what club team did you play for? When I say club team, they're expecting some club team, LA, Camarillo, wherever it is, club team, non-AYSO. And these players stood up tall. They said, what high school are you out of? Santa Paula. What club team do you play for? Santa Paula AYSO Region 82. So for that, I want you to know that this isn't just a sport. We aren't just parents to our own kids. To follow in the footsteps of Coach Joe Magdaleno, who works Saturday jobs mowing lawns to put shoes and cleats and shorts on the feet of not just his kids, because if we didn't need it as much as somebody else did, they got it, to put food on the table of other kids so they could have a good meal before their game or make it to practice. You can do it too. Not just you can do it too, you should do it too. My honor to give this year's season dedication to my dad, but first and foremost, Coach Joe Magdaleno.